In today's video, we will be going over our final NFL power rankings for the 2024-2025 season. Well, final for the regular season at least. I might do one or so more after the playoffs just to kind of, analyze where every team finished. But honestly, probably not. I don't know yet. Haven't decided that much. Either way, before we get into this video, don't let me forget to remind you to check out W.GG. See, W, right here behind my shoulder, you see my favorite flavors there. They are some of the best energy drinks I've ever had. So check them out. If you are an energy drink user, drinker, whatever, why not? I mean, you like energy drinks, and these are great. They taste better than all the other energy drinks I've had. They also are cheaper per cost. So, each drink costs just about $1 per drink per serving. So, it's a pretty good deal either way. So, either way, check out their website, W.GG. And, hey, you want a better deal? Use code SHREDDER for 10% off your order of anything on the website. And let's get right into this video. Here we are with our tier list, and right below me, you see the previous rankings to this list. So this is 2 weeks ago. I do these every 2 weeks, not every single week. So 2 weeks ago, this is what we're working with right below me, and let's get into today. So now, starting off, the Giants will remain at 32. The worst team in the league, in my opinion. Yes, they don't have the number one pick. I understand that. I think they're number 2? 4? No, not 4. 2, I think. 2 sounds right. I think they're number 2 right now off the top of my head. I can't remember, but they are terrible. They're awful. There's nothing good about the Giants, honestly, at all. There's not even a little bit good. So, I guess, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau are decent. Derek Lawrence is pretty good. I rescind that a little bit. They did keep Brian Daboll, which I think is a positive, but I do think it's a negative that they kept Joe Shane. Joe Shane? What's his name? The GM. I have done this 3 times in the last 2 videos, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, the GM, they kept him. I don't think that was a good idea, but they did keep Brian Daboll, who I do have faith in. So that's a positive for me in their book. That's about the only positive for them on the season. Moving on to number 31. -2 for the Titans. They fall to number 1 pick, which, would be good in general. But if they're going to draft a quarterback, this is not the year to be taking a quarterback number 1. In my opinion, they should trade the pick away, trade down in this draft, and still try to pick a quarterback later. I don't think any of the quarterbacks this year are probably worth a top 5 pick on first glance, okay? I haven't done my full research yet. I've really not even started a whole lot of film, to be quite honest with you. But what I have seen this year, I'm not really thrilled about this quarterback class in general. Moving on to number 30. Number 30 this week is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are down 2 spots this week. Not a great season for them either. Lots of trouble. They fired Doug Peterson. They're the Jaguars. They stink. They always are going to stink until probably Shad Khan decides to sell the team, and definitely after they fire Trent Baalke. He's awful. Then after that, the Raiders. They are +2 after 2 weeks of pretty solid football. They did lose to the Chargers this week, but yeah, they lost to the Chargers, a good football team. They beat some teams that they shouldn't have in the last few weeks. They really went from 1 pick to number, 6 or 7, I think they're at. They're pretty decently far back there compared to what they should have been. And it may hurt them, honestly, in the long run. Or it may help them because maybe none of these quarterbacks need to go top 5. So that's actually maybe a positive thing. But either way, I don't really believe that they're going to do very well. I think they should fire their head coach, Antonio Pierce. I doubt they will, but they probably should. Just not a good season for them. But then again, what do you expect when you go into a season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew? Do you really think that's going to get the job done? If you do, you probably need to get some help. Moving on. The Browns are at number, 28? Yeah, not a good season for them either. Very much a season to forget. Well, then again, they forget just about every one of their seasons. So, I guess it's a season to remember in that sense. Moving on. After the Browns, they go up 2 just because, whatever. The Panthers are going to stay in the same spot they were last week. They had a good finish. Did they win a lot of games? No, they didn't. Did they, compete and look competent and have Bryce Young look competent? Yes, they absolutely did. That is a massive W for them there. I think that's a good deal. Moving on from them, that's a solid way to end your season at least. But moving on. The next team is another NFC South team, the Saints. The Saints, Dennis Allen was your coach. Give him a break, kind of give him a break there as a team. But at the same time, they hired him, so they're still their fault. Derek Carr got hurt. Not that he's amazing, but he's definitely decent. Not a good season. Just bad across the board. Patriots go up 1 spot this week. And you can either say thank you or I hate you to Joe Milton. He did win them that game. Is that a good thing? I'm not really sure. They did lose out on the number 1 pick because of that. Now they're number 4. I know they're number 4. the positive sign here is they have Drake May, and with number 4, maybe they can grab a Travis Hunter. Maybe he might still be around. Maybe Teteroa McMillan. Not that I'm sure. I'm not sure about him yet. I need to watch him a lot more. But they might get a chance to do some things that are decent. I think they'll be in a good spot, a better spot at number 4 than number 1, because honestly, let's be real. Number 1, they're probably just going to trade down, which, okay, you get the assets, but that's a mess. That's always a mess. Anyways, the Patriots, they go up 1 spot this week. Congratulations. Colts are down on 5 spots to number 24. Not a good finish from the Colts. They were alive for the playoffs for the last couple weeks, but couldn't get it done. And honestly, who's to say that they're surprised? I mean, they kept Shane Steichen and whatever the GM's name, Chris Ballard, that's what it is. Thank you, Pat McAfee Show, for reminding me of that. They always do. But Shane Steichen, not a good season, first 2 seasons for him. Kind of disappointing considering what Jonathan Gannon, the other coordinator from Philadelphia, signed last year as a head coach to the Cardinals. Him and Steichen were the DC and OC of the Philadelphia Eagles 2 years ago. And hasn't really been so good for him. Now, granted, they've had Anthony Richardson, who's not a great quarterback, and I think we've kind of seen this year that he's probably just not going to be back, or if he is back, it's not going to be positive, I guess, of a idea. But anyways, not a great season from them so far. Really a lot to be desired from the Colts team. Moving on. After the Colts, we have the Jets. They go up 1 this week. Hey, they got to win. They won. They keep the Dolphins out of the playoffs. That's awesome. Congratulations, Jets. Aaron Rodgers probably should not be a Jet again. Let's just say that, and let's forget about the last 2 years. That's probably the best for y'all. Just about, like, everything else is forgettable for the Jets as well. Moving on from there, the 49ers. A bad loss in the last week of the season to the Cardinals. I don't care what you say about that game. You shouldn't lose that game like that. They got kind of handled by the Cardinals, who are a division rival, but also not as good of a team. They simply don't have a better roster. I don't care who's hurt for the 49ers. The Cardinals aren't better than you if you're all hurt. The Cardinals roster sucks, okay? What are we doing? And the final team in this tier, the Bears. Congratulations on beating the Packers, because that was your first win since like week 6 or something like that. It's been horrible for the Bears. Like, I don't know how you can lose that many games with that much talent on your team. Like, let's be real. The Bears, I mean, it's a coaching malpractice at least. I mean, honestly, Thomas Brown probably shot himself in the foot of ever getting a head coaching job. I understand. He is only the interim, but like, golly, you got to win at least like 1 game before you go on like a 10-game losing streak. That's incredibly bad. That's so bad. Number 20, excuse me. After the Bears, we got the Atlanta Falcons. They fall pretty decently, only 2 spots, but I mean, like, they really, like, morally fell a lot farther, missing the playoffs yet again, being that close yet that far. And honestly, I don't really know what you expected with putting in Penix. I don't really think there was a shot they made the playoffs with Penix. He played 3 games. Like, you really think this guy's going to make the playoffs? And if he does, it's not going to get you a win. I just don't believe that at all. It's a bad look to start a guy for the first time and immediately try to put him in a playoff crunch. It's just not going to work out. It shouldn't. It really numerically shouldn't. The Cowboys, they are up 4 spots. Solid jump for them. They kind of wrapped up the season in a positive light. Now, granted, they didn't really necessarily have all the wins they wanted, but, moral wins, okay? Moral victories. Not that those are much to be achieved or much to be claimed, but to the same point, like, you finish the year with Cooper Rush and no CeeDee Lamb, I think you'll give yourself a positive for the way it did end. Now, granted, the only bad side is you did put yourself farther away from high-end pick territory, which, may not be great, but at the same time, it's fine. They'll be okay. They'll live, I promise. Number, what do we have? 18, the Cardinals. The Cardinals are interesting. As I've said before, a terrible roster. They don't have a good roster. Maybe 4 or 5 actually good players on this whole roster. Yeah, that's about it. The Cardinals just not a special team. If they're special, well, there's a lot to be desired there. I think we'll see them be better next year. I think they'll have some time to develop and, get some guys in this offseason and probably gain more than they lose by a large margin. So that's a positive, but still just not a great look across the board. Moving on from them, the Seahawks. They are, not amazing. -4 this week. Just, I don't know. Let's stop believing in Geno Smith. Do yourself a favor and go get a new quarterback, whether it's through the draft, whether it's through free agency, whether it's just starting Sam Howell. At this point, there's at least upside to him and not Geno Smith. So move on, okay? Burn the bridge. Dolphins finish at 16. solid into the season one way or another, other than the loss of the Jets. I mean, they were really bad, okay? They had a very large hill to climb in terms of their win-loss record early in the season because of the Tua injury and all. And getting to this point where they were at least alive in Week 18 was a massive positive. Granted, immediately after the game, Tyreek Hill says he's basically leaving, so... And Jalen Ramsey's posting stuff about how he wants to leave, so I don't know. Nightmare scenario there, I guess. Anyways, moving on. Number 15. Number 15 is the Houston Texans. A rough end of the season for them. Yes, they got a win in Week 18, I'm pretty sure. Am I mistaken? I think they did. I've slept since then. It's been like 2 days since then. But anyways, a lot of games happened that day. Either way, they're into the season. That Baltimore game, brutal. I mean, not scoring a single offensive point is pretty much inescapable of how bad that is. So, good luck in the playoffs, guys. Y'all are going to need it. Our biggest faller of the week is the Green Bay Packers losing to the Bears. How do you manage that? Like, number one, I don't know if they were even playing for much seeding, maybe a one spot up or down. If you are, well, you lost to the Bears. Congratulations. Not to mention, you lose Christian Watson for the season. Now, granted, he's hurt all the time, so is that really that big of a loss? Maybe, probably not. But at the same time, a loss is a loss, and a loss to the Bears is like 3 losses. So, yeah, that's pretty much inexcusable. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I would not have a high ceiling for them going into the playoffs, especially considering they're going to play Philly first round. Good luck, guys. Y'all are going to need it for sure. Bengals, they're up 2. Probably the highest team in here that's going to miss the playoffs. They beat the Steelers last week. Congratulations. That's a good win for y'all, and they did it by holding on to a lead that they barely held on to from a sputtering offense. So, I mean, that's not great, but their defense has been bad all year. We know that. Joe Burrow, probably the best. He's the only good quarterback to miss the playoffs, basically, if you really look down the board. Kind of feel bad for him, but also I kind of don't because, well, you're on the Bengals, and I don't really care. So, moving on. After the Bengals, we have the Bucs. They're going up +4 this week. Pretty solid end of the year for them. I mean, making the playoffs is a big deal, obviously. Getting Mike Evans, that was a great moment. Getting him his 1,000 yards, wonderful moment there. Watching him get to celebrate with his teammates on the field and just how much they all cared. That was really, really cool, honestly. The one thing is they are the 4 seed in the playoffs because they won their division. I'm going to say this again. I've said it before. I'm not a big believer in if you win your division, you get a top 4 playoff seed. And I understand people say, well, then if you don't, your division kind of doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's false. I think it still would. You get a playoff bid. Winning your division gets you a playoff bid. But winning 10 games, 9 games some years, the one year where the Commanders, the football team, made the playoffs with a negative record at 8-9, that shouldn't win you a 4 seed. You should get in the playoffs, sure, because you won your division. You beat those other teams in your division. But a 4 seed, a home game? No, sir. No, sir. Not at all. I don't believe that one bit. After that, their biggest riser of the week is the Denver Broncos. Look, man, I don't care what you want to say. The Chiefs getting blown out. I think they lost by 30-0 or something like that to the Broncos. You getting blown out to the Broncos like that? That's bad. I don't care if not one of the single starters play. Not the left tackle who stinks, not the right tackle who stinks, not the right end who isn't that good. I don't care who it is. Don't lose to the Broncos that bad. That is inexcusable. And I think that might actually hurt them in the playoffs a little bit. That's a big morale hit. Losing 30-0. That's bad. That's very, very, very bad. Okay? Yeah, not good at all. Entering our top 10 at number 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not a good end of the season from them. -4 in this one. Not -4, -2. But -4 in the losses. Yeah, they lost 4 straight games. That's not good. Not a good way to go in the playoffs. However, lucky enough for them, their first-round opponent is a rather familiar one in the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens have kind of been on a heater lately, don't get me wrong, but if the Pittsburgh Steelers were to take down any team in the playoffs, give me the Ravens. I do believe in that much. So, let's kind of wait and see what happens there. I'm not saying they will beat them. I have my definitely reservations against it, but a division rival is probably your best bet at beating anybody since you know them a lot better. Now, granted, they'll probably get blown up by 40, but either way, not the point. After the Steelers, the Commanders go up +3. Pretty good end of the year for them. They make the playoffs as I believe, the 5 or 6 seed. No, they're the 6 seed because the Commanders were the 5 seed. Vikings, Commanders, that's them. Not. Anyways, yeah, they're the 6 seed. They have to play Tampa Bay in that first round. Kind of interesting, okay? Kind of interesting, all right? I'm not really sure how we should approach that, but That's going to be interesting. Hey, best part about that, Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans in the playoffs. We never got to see that. So, let's go. That's great. Moving on from there, the Rams, they go up +2. Great end of the year for them. Their offense is buzzing. Their defense, not so much, but that's okay. They survive on that. Their offense is so good, it doesn't really truly matter for them. They're going to beat anybody. It doesn't really matter. In the first round, they're playing the Vikings. Sorry, Vikings. That's a rough one. Good luck. I'll tell you that much. I don't know about that, but I don't know about the Vikings there. Chargers come in at 7. Really, really good end of the year for them. They get the win over the Raiders, obviously, but also they're a sneaky team to win this entire thing, okay? Call me crazy, but what wins in the playoffs? If you ask yourself what wins in the playoffs, and don't talk about a team, talk about simply what is a winning formula in the playoffs. It's defense. It's a running game, and it's a trustworthy quarterback and coach. They got a good defense, maybe the best defense in the league right now. Their running game's been pretty consistent, pretty solid, pretty dominant to a point. They got Harbaugh and they got Herbert. I ain't saying they're going to win it, but they're a team to watch out for. This first week, who are they playing? They get to play Houston. Bye, Houston. Sorry. Number 6. Here after that, we go to the Minnesota Vikings. A pretty good fall off from them this week. -4 for them. Obviously, the big loss to the Lions and kind of getting handled by the Lions. That's the big problem. Sam Darnold did look like a shell of himself. Looked like he had post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever it's called, PTSD. Wasn't a great showing from him at all. Vikings look a little rough, and especially facing the Rams in this playoffs, I would be rather concerned if I was them. Coming in at our top 5, the Chiefs come in at number 5. I don't care who played or who didn't play. You don't lose by 30-0. Like 30-0. That's not good. That's very, very, very bad. I don't care if no one really played. You're professionals. Don't lose 30-0. Okay? Bad. Anyways, after that, the Ravens come in at number 4. Coming off of some good wins, beat the Browns this week, handled business, took care of the division. Good for them. Congratulations, you're in. Good luck with Pittsburgh. You're going to need it because, honestly, Pittsburgh's going to be clawing and fighting at that one. They need that one bad. And honestly, that could be a game where the Steelers win simply based off of they wanted it more in that sense. And I could see that happening for sure. Moving on to number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're worrying, man. If I'm any NFC team, I'd be worried about the Eagles, even the Lions. The Eagles are probably a more complete team than they are, and it doesn't really bode well for them to this point. I really don't think it's going to end too well for any team playing the Eagles. Even the Lions could be very, very much stalled out with versus the Eagles. The Lions do have that winning record on the road, but not at home. And they have home field advantage all through the playoffs. So if it does come down to Philly versus Detroit, when they play in Detroit, where Detroit's already lost twice this season, I would reasonably have a reason to believe that Philly could beat them there. Moving on from that, the Buffalo Bills at 2. Great season from them, man. They honestly, and the way they played, they deserve the 1 seed, but over the Chiefs especially, because the Chiefs, Mahomes didn't particularly play that amazing. But, hey, the wins and the losses count where they do, and y'all lost to the Patriots this week, so, I mean, that does suck, but at the same time, like, it was competitive, and, last week, yes, I understand they benched guys too, and they're still at 2. I understand that Chiefs might look a little weird, but 30-0 versus, I mean, you lose on a, pretty close game when you played your backups. It's a different story, okay? It really just truly is. And the Detroit Lions finish at 1, who's surprised. Probably the best team in the NFL this year. They're going to get healthier in the playoffs. That Aiden Hutchinson may be back for the championship game in the Super Bowl. Very interesting to see. I'm excited for that one. I'm excited to see these playoffs in general. Let me know down below who you think was graded wrong, right? Who was too high, who was too low. And stay tuned for some of the craziest playoffs we've ever seen. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.